We now take you back to approximately 33 AD, the Greek city of Kidion on the island of Cyprus. We are in the garden of the house of Lazarus. This is the setting for the play titled, The Last Final Days of Lazarus.
The sun. Oh, it feels so nice. Was I sleeping again? I seem to sleep an awful lot these days. I'm sorry if I kept you waiting. Thank you for being here. Since I have no more surviving family, I am grateful for your presence and the thoughtful care you have given me. And of course, though we are not related by blood, we are still truly brothers and sisters in Him, Baruch Hashem. Honestly, I do not think you will have to worry about me much longer. It seems my life is coming to an end. Again. You know, not many can make that claim. Sometimes it sounds as strange to me as it probably does to you. Even though I lived through it, or died through it, it's as if the impossibility of it all would have me doubt my own experience. But as impossible or unbelievable as it might sound, I assure you it happened. And that with Jesus, nothing is ever really impossible, or should ever be considered unbelievable. Ah, Jesus. Though you all know of him, none of you ever had the chance to meet him face to face. Pity. He was an amazing man. Now, it wasn't that he was particularly good looking. Actually, he was rather plain in appearance. He wasn't strikingly tall either. In fact, there was nothing really about him, at least physically, that would make people notice him or recognize him for whom he truly was. The prophet Isaiah was certainly right about that. Many, in fact, did not recognize him. Others did, some for the right reasons, and some for wrong. But my sisters and I saw something special in this gentle rabbi right away. We would go to hear him speak whenever we could, but we were just a few among many. However, there was this one day when, though he spoke to all, he seemed to focus on us. I thought I must be imagining this, but sure enough, when he finished speaking, he came right over to us. I don't remember if one of my sisters invited him to our home or if he invited himself, but soon he was a regular visitor. Actually, he was more than a visitor. He was more like part of our mishpacha, our family. We, of course, were honored because, aside from the disciples and a few others, he didn't really seem to have many close friends. I imagine he was too busy for a lot of friendships, or perhaps he knew not many could handle all that a relationship with him would entail. And as painful as our relationship would prove to be for a brief but horrible time, given the choice, I would change nothing. and I believe my sisters felt the same. May they rest in peace. Mary and Martha, oh, what wonderful women they were. A brother couldn't ask for better sisters, but oh, they were as different as the night is from the day. Mary, the youngest, was inquisitive and excited by life. She was a joy to be around. Everyone loved Mary. She was always finding something new to ponder, which didn't leave her much time for the mundane things that life tends to throw at us, especially at women. Martha, on the other hand, seemed to relish that which Mary avoided. Now, please understand, I loved and appreciated Martha as much as Mary, but it wasn't always easy to show it. Martha could be tough on everyone. She had her opinions, and she did her best to make sure you agreed with them. She ran the house and didn't mind telling you so. The problem was that Martha, though she loved doing what she did, could never quite accept the fact that Mary did not. And oh, she didn't hesitate to make that known. Oh, my friends, could that woman nag. She even did that to Jesus once. Yes, my sister Martha is perhaps the only person on earth who ever nagged to the Messiah, right to his face. Rabbi, do you think it's fair that I am doing all the work and Mary is not doing a thing? Tell her to help me. I think it was one of Jesus' bravest moments when he told Martha that she was wrong and Mary was right. I did my best not to laugh. But Martha had enough sense to accept his words, even though I wondered if he might end up with his meal on his head rather than in the plate before him. But Mary, on the other hand, wasn't quite so successful at hiding her feelings, especially when it came to Jesus. There was this night shortly before Jesus and the disciples went into Jerusalem for the Passover, and that terrible time, we were holding a dinner in honor of Jesus, even though being in such close proximity to Jerusalem, this placed our house in grave danger. At one point in the evening, Mary became so overcome with love for Jesus that she took a costly bottle of perfume, part of her dowry, I think I remember, and she washed his feet with it. Then she dried his feet with her hair. We all sat in stunned silence, witnessing such an intimate moment. But the silence was broken by one of the disciples, Judas, I think, complaining of the waste. Poor Mary looked hurt, then ashamed, and then down at the floor, fearing she had displeased Jesus. But he took her chin in his hand and gently lifted her gaze to his. He assured her and all of us there that what she had done was a good thing, the right thing. Jesus is good at that, you know, lifting our heads and freeing us from shame. But this happened after the miracle you've come to hear about one more time, and I'm rambling on like an old he-goat. So I remember the illness came upon me suddenly. One day I seemed to be well, and the next unable to leave my bed. My sisters reacted like they normally did. Martha busied herself with tending to my needs, preparing food, changing bed sheets, and the like. Mary sat by my bedside, holding my hand, praying and doing her best to comfort me. The last thing I remember before it happened, I was lying on my bed, extremely weak, drenched in sweat. I felt as if the illness was overtaking me, body and soul. I looked up at my sisters, both hovering over me, looking as frightened as I felt. A memory came to me, not so much a thought, more like a vision. I remembered a time when Jesus and I were alone. Now, his mood was often pensive, but there was something different, more intense. He finally addressed me, but not looking at me, said, "Lazarus, if you ever need me, I will be here for you. You will not be left alone. Do not be afraid, and listen for my voice." The last few words came out with a tremble in his voice, and though he was still not looking directly at me, I thought I could see a tear rolling down his cheek. The memory then faded, and with all my strength, though it came out as only a whisper, I said to my sisters, "Get Jesus." What I didn't know is that they had already sent for him a few days prior, and yet he had not come. Oh, I don't know why he waited, but I've come to learn that his timing is not our timing. His ways are not our ways. And I've learned to trust him completely and to be thankful in every circumstance, good and bad, even when I don't understand.
Right.
After those last few words, I closed my eyes, and then I was somewhere else. I don't know quite how to explain it, but I wasn't there anymore, and I wasn't with my body either. My being, my soul, was in a different place. Now, many have asked if I was in heaven during that time. I don't believe so. It was a place of waiting, a place where I felt safe, enveloped, but not a place that I wanted to remain in. Perhaps that is how I know that it was not heaven. I was there for a time though time was different there. All at once, I heard a familiar voice coming from far away. "Lazarus, come out." I was sure it was Jesus. I started walking in the direction the voice seemed to be coming from. I was about to yell to him, hoping that he could find me, when I found myself back in my body. I didn't know where I was, but I could smell the stench of death all around me. This certainly wasn't the safe place I had been, and this certainly wasn't a place I wanted to remain in. I wasn't as weak as when I had last been conscious, but I still found it very difficult to move and to see. I soon realized that this was because I was wrapped from head to foot in cloth. Again, I heard Jesus' voice, this time sounding very demanding. "Lazarus, come out!" I struggled against the cloth and finally managed to sit up. Through my head covering, I could see light, and from that light, I could feel air. I carefully rose to my feet. I couldn't walk because of the restrictive cloth around my legs, so I shuffled as best I could toward the light. I hit my head on what I now know was the stone above the opening of the tomb. I didn't let that stop me. I crouched and carefully made my way through. And when I finally realized that I was outside of whatever that dark, dank, and smelly place was, I stood up straight, enjoying the fresh air and the warmth. It was very quiet at first. Very quiet. Then all of a sudden there was a roar! It startled me, but I soon realized that I was standing in front of a large group of people who were very excited. Some there started removing the cloth. The first thing I saw when the head covering was removed were Martha and Mary running towards me, tears rolling down both of their faces. They almost knocked me over when they reached me, covering my face with kisses. The others continued removing the cloth. When Mary and Martha moved aside, there was Jesus, right in front of me. He looked pale, shaken, and very tired. "You came," I said to him. "I told you I would," he replied, trying his best to smile. "I heard you," I told him. "I know," he said, bursting into tears and hugging me to him. And so, life went on. I lived through the horror of his death. and the glory of his resurrection. I have done everything I could to help his followers spread the word. I have had to bury both of my sisters. And now it is once again my turn. I do not fear death, because I, probably more than any of you, know that death is not the end. I look forward to seeing my sisters again. I only hope Martha isn't too busy cleaning heaven, or that Mary is not too busy learning to fly like the angels for them to greet their old brother. And I rejoice at the thought of seeing my Messiah, my dear friend, Jesus again. Do not feel bad for me. I was born and born again, and through death will be born yet again. Only this final birth will see me live forever with the true giver of life, Jesus Christ. I look forward to seeing you all when you are born into blessed eternity as well. Until then, remember my story, and especially remember that if you ever need Jesus, he will be there for you. Just listen for him. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ remain with you always. Amen.